There is a battle, an incessant struggle, silently raging within the very core of your being. A conflict you are likely fighting without even realizing its true nature or the profound stakes involved. This is not a clash of physical forces, nor a confrontation with tangible adversaries, but an engagement against a far more insidious opponent. This adversary seeks to claim your most sacred and vital territory, the boundless expanse of your own mind. Have you not, in moments of quiet introspection, felt that persistent, nagging doubt gnawing at your resolve? That draining confusion, like a thick, impenetrable fog, clouding your vision and obscuring your path forward? That spiritual distance, a profound sense of disconnection, even when you yearn for guidance from a higher power. Understand this with absolute clarity. These feelings are not random occurrences, mere coincidences of circumstance or temperament. They are, in fact, precisely orchestrated, part of a grander, deliberate strategy aimed at diverting your potential, at subjugating your will. This message, however, is not delivered to invoke fear, but to ignite within you a profound understanding, to offer a strategic blueprint for liberation. This is about true freedom, the profound liberty that comes from comprehending the intricate mechanics of this internal conflict and, crucially, learning precisely how to decisively win it. It is about equipping you with the knowledge to consciously direct your thoughts, to master the formidable powers of your own mind, and to harness your inherent spiritual strength to forge an unshakable destiny, one fully aligned with your highest purpose. Consider for a moment the unseen machinations at play. While we often seek out visible enemies, the most formidable opposition frequently operates from the shadows, without a declared agenda. I speak now of what I term mental drift, the gradual, often imperceptible yet devastating surrender of your focus, your intentionality, and your very sense of self to external pressures, to internal fears, and to the limiting beliefs you have unknowingly adopted. This, my friend, is the fertile ground where the adversary of progress and purpose truly operates. This is not an overt attack, but a subtle, calculated process of erosion. Observe how this drift is cultivated. It begins with the unexamined narratives you absorb from the world around you, the stories you tell yourself about your capabilities and limitations, narratives often steeped in the opinions of others or past failures. It progresses through the subtle, constant erosion of your personal power as you cede control over your attention to the incessant demands of distraction, to trivial pursuits that pull you away from your deepest aspirations. It is a slow, methodical process of disempowerment, where your innate capacity for independent thought and deliberate action is systematically undermined. The greatest weapon wielded against you in this silent war is not brute force, nor explicit opposition to your dreams. No, it is the insidious power of distraction, the artful misdirection that pulls you away from the unwavering pursuit of your own definitive purpose. It is within this vulnerability, this unconscious surrender to the currents of external influence, that your true power begins to wane. Do you not see how this plays out in your daily experience? When your mind wanders aimlessly from one fleeting thought to another, when your energy is dissipated across a dozen uncommitted efforts, when your deepest convictions are swayed by the slightest external doubt, this is mental drift at work. It is the adversary's masterstroke, compelling you to participate in your own subjugation, not through overt coercion, but through the illusion of choice in a field of carefully cultivated distractions. We must therefore understand that this is not an external attack that we merely fend off. It is an internal vulnerability that we must first acknowledge, then comprehend, and finally, decisively fortify. For only by recognizing the subtle nature of this invisible war can we begin to truly outwit the forces that seek to derail our journey towards a life of purpose and profound spiritual connection. The time for passive acceptance is over. The time for conscious command has arrived. We now move beyond mere drift into the very anatomy of deception to understand the intricate labyrinth of your own mind. It is a place where shadows can easily obscure light, where familiar voices can become the loudest, even if those voices do not serve your highest good. Have you ever pondered why certain doubts, certain anxieties, seem to repeat themselves, echoing through your consciousness regardless of external circumstances? Why, despite your earnest desire for spiritual connection, does a sense of distance or unworthiness persist? This is where we uncover what I call the echo chamber effect. This effect is not merely about external influences, though those play their part. It is a profound internal phenomenon where your past experiences, often unresolved fears, and even the pervasive narratives of the collective consciousness coalesce to form a structural vulnerability within your mental fortress. Think of it as a mental architecture built by accumulated thoughts and emotions, designed to amplify doubt and, tragically, discourage your innate capacity for divine connection. These are not just fleeting negative thoughts. This is a fundamental, almost architectural flaw in how your mind processes information and perceives reality when left unexamined. Consider your past experiences. Every setback, every perceived failure, every harsh word or unfulfilled expectation leaves an imprint. If these imprints are not consciously processed and transmuted, they do not simply fade away. No, they become internal resonance points, ready to vibrate with similar frequencies. When a new challenge arises, these old echoes are stirred, reinforcing doubt, whispering stories of inadequacy. These internal narratives, often operating far below the threshold of your conscious awareness, morph into self-fulfilling prophecies. They become the lenses through which you interpret new information, blocking genuine clarity, distorting intuitive guidance, and ultimately obstructing the profound spiritual insight that is always available to a prepared mind. The adversary, that subtle opponent of progress, does not need to invent elaborate lies. Its strategy is far more sophisticated, far more insidious. It merely amplifies your deepest, most unaddressed fears. It takes the seeds of doubt already planted by past experiences or societal conditioning and nurtures them with repetition, allowing them to grow into towering barriers within your own mind. It preys on the very human tendency to seek validation for existing beliefs, even if those beliefs are limiting. When you encounter a whisper of negativity, if that whisper resonates with an existing, unchallenged fear within your echo chamber, it gains power, becoming a roar that drowns out reason and spiritual truth. This echo chamber effect diminishes your spiritual intuition, making it harder to discern the quiet, guiding voice of a higher power. How can you hear divine wisdom if your inner world is perpetually filled with the clamor of past anxieties and projected fears? How can you cultivate applied faith if every step forward is met with internal resistance, amplified by an unchallenged history of doubt? The clarity you seek, the peace you yearn for, remains just beyond your grasp, not because it is unavailable, but because the internal conditions of your mind are not conducive to receiving it. We must learn to dismantle these echo chambers, to bring conscious awareness to the internal narratives that hold us captive, and to cultivate a mental environment where truth and divine purpose can resonate clearly and powerfully. For until you quiet these echoes, you will continue to mistake the amplified whispers of your fears for the authoritative voice of reality. If your mind has become an echo chamber, amplifying doubts and past failures, what then is the inevitable consequence of such internal discord? It is a subtle yet pervasive paralysis, a cunning tactic employed against your very will, which I identify as the Great Procrastination Proxy. This is not merely idleness or a fleeting lack of motivation. This is a strategic maneuver by the adversary to stall your spiritual and personal growth, diverting your most potent resource, your capacity for decisive action. Do you genuinely believe that the constant deferral of your most important tasks, the perpetual delay in pursuing your deepest spiritual aspirations, is simply a character flaw or a natural inclination? Or might it be something far more strategic, a direct result of that internal echo chamber reinforcing inaction? Consider how this insidious proxy manifests in your life. Perhaps you find yourself perpetually caught in what I term analysis paralysis. You collect information, you ponder options, you weigh every conceivable outcome, yet the moment for decision, the moment for actual engagement, never quite arrives. Is this genuine preparation, or is it a sophisticated form of evasion, a fear of commitment masquerading as prudence? You rationalize the delay by convincing yourself that you must wait for the perfect moment, that elusive alignment of circumstances that will never truly materialize. This becomes a trap, a self-imposed prison of inaction, where potential remains perpetually unrealized and spiritual insights gather dust. Each moment of indecision, each postponed action, strengthens the invisible chains that bind your ambition and stifle your spirit. This Great Procrastination Proxy is a direct and potent weapon against your definitive purpose. Remember, a definite purpose is not merely a wish or a vague desire. It is a clear, unyielding objective, backed by an unwavering, burning desire and a concrete plan for its achievement. When this purpose is either undefined or clouded by doubt, the mind, by its very nature, seeks the path of least resistance. And what is easier than delay? What demands less immediate courage than waiting? The adversary understands this fundamental truth. A mind without a clearly articulated, singular aim is easily fragmented, easily distracted, and easily led away from the very actions that would elevate it. Observe how this connects to the fear of making decisions. True leadership, whether of an enterprise or of your own life, demands decisions, often difficult ones, and sometimes in the face of uncertainty. The echo chamber of past failures, of magnified doubts, can render you hesitant, fearful of choosing wrongly. This fear is then cleverly disguised as the need for more information, the demand for absolute certainty, or the illusion of waiting for external validation. But in this waiting, in this perpetual state of readiness without readiness, you surrender your agency. You allow the currents of circumstance, or worse, the subtle manipulations of the adversary, to dictate your trajectory. True faith is never passive. It is a dynamic force, a living energy that compels you to action. If you believe in a higher power, if you believe in your own divine potential, then inaction becomes a contradiction of that belief. Procrastination is not simply the postponement of a task. It is the paralysis of potential, the deliberate obstruction of the very channels through which spiritual growth and personal achievement flow. It is the adversary's triumph when you allow your dreams to remain dreams, your spiritual aspirations to remain aspirations, never translating them into the concrete, consistent actions that bring them into being. To truly outwit this unseen force, you must recognize that every moment of intentional delay, every excuse for inaction, is a victory for that which seeks to diminish you. The path to mastery begins not with boundless knowledge, but with decisive action, taken in alignment with a clear and definitive purpose. You have now understood the profound paralysis that lack of clarity can inflict, how the Great Procrastination Proxy subtly undermines your every intention. But how do we counteract this pervasive inertia? How do we move from understanding the problem to actively forging a solution? We begin with the very bedrock of mental resilience, the non-negotiable first principle for building an unassailable mind: the definitive purpose. Codex. For too long, the concept of purpose has been treated as a vague aspiration, a pleasant thought reserved for philosophers or dreamers. I tell you now, with the absolute conviction born of decades observing the triumphs and failures of thousands of individuals, that your definitive purpose is far more than a mere goal. It is the very spiritual blueprint of your existence. It is the core reason for your being. The fundamental truth that, once uncovered and embraced, transforms every decision, every action, every thought into a strategic step towards your inevitable success. This is not just about what you wish to accomplish. It is about who you are meant to be and the unique, indelible impact you are called to make upon the world. It is the divine signature etched upon your soul, waiting for you to decipher its meaning and unleash its power. Think deeply on this. If you do not define your purpose with absolute clarity, what force will guide your thoughts when confusion arises? What anchor will hold your spirit firm when the winds of doubt begin to rage? Without a definitive purpose, your mind is left vulnerable to the mental drift we discussed earlier, easily swayed by external influences, easily trapped within the echo chambers of past limitations. It is this absence of a singular burning objective that feeds the Great Procrastination Proxy, rendering you incapable of decisive action because there is no commanding vision to propel you forward. A general who sends his army into battle without a clear objective condemns them to defeat. So too does a mind operate without a definitive purpose. It wanders, it reacts, it dissipates its formidable energy, never truly conquering anything, never truly creating anything lasting. To articulate this definitive purpose is an act of profound self-discovery, a sacred covenant you make with yourself and, indeed, with the divine architect of your being. It demands more than fleeting thought. It requires deep, uncompromising reflection. You must peel back the layers of societal expectations, shed the burdens of past failures, and silence the chorus of external opinions that have, perhaps unknowingly, dictated your path thus far. Ask yourself, not what you should do, but what your very essence demands you do. What vision, when held clearly in your mind, ignites a fire within your belly? What contribution, when imagined fully, fills your spirit with an unshakable sense of joy and fulfillment? This is the starting point. To transform this introspection into an actionable, tangible force, I propose a sacred writing exercise. This is not a casual journaling session. This is a declaration, a deliberate act of transcribing your highest purpose onto the physical plane, giving it form and substance. Find a quiet space, free from all distraction. Take a pen and paper, and with unwavering focus, begin to write in vivid detail your definitive purpose. State it clearly, concisely, and with an emotional intensity that resonates deep within your core. Describe not just the outcome, but the person you must become to achieve it. Let it be so specific, so emotionally charged, that it becomes a guiding star, visible even through the densest fog of uncertainty. This written declaration is your personal constitution, your guiding creed. Refer to it daily. Meditate upon it. Allow it to permeate every fiber of your being. The benefits of this clarity are immeasurable. With a definitive purpose firmly established, your mind gains an unparalleled resilience. Your focus becomes unwavering, a laser beam cutting through the fog of distraction. This purpose acts as an unbreakable shield against the subtle manipulations of the adversary, transforming internal struggle into purposeful energy. It becomes the non-negotiable anchor for your applied faith. For how can one have faith in an undefined future? This blueprint, once forged, becomes your internal compass, always pointing you towards your true north, always guiding you back to the path that will lead to your ultimate triumph and profound spiritual connection. It is the first, most crucial step in seizing command of your mind and, by extension, your destiny. You have now, I trust, painstakingly defined your sacred blueprint, your definitive purpose. But understand this with unwavering clarity. A purpose, no matter how profoundly articulated, how passionately conceived, remains a mere theoretical construct, a beautiful but inert concept, unless it is actively forged into the very fabric of your daily existence. It is not enough to possess the architectural plans for a magnificent structure. You must engage in the relentless, deliberate labor of construction. For if your mind, the ultimate workshop of your destiny, is left untended without conscious cultivation, it will inevitably revert to old patterns, to the very mental drift and echo chamber effects that sought to hold you captive. This is precisely why we must now turn our attention to what I call the mental forge discipline. This discipline is not a passive pursuit, not merely a fleeting moment of reflection or a casual wish whispered into the ether. No, this is about the active creation of your mental landscape, the intentional shaping of your inner world, with the same precision and determination a master blacksmith wields his hammer to transform raw iron into an instrument of power and purpose. Many mistakenly believe that occasional positive thinking or sporadic attempts at meditation are sufficient to redirect a lifetime of subconscious conditioning. But I tell you, the mind, like any powerful muscle or fertile garden, demands consistent, intelligent engagement. If you allow the weeds of doubt, fear, and distraction to sprout unchecked, they will inevitably choke out the precious seeds of your aspirations and intentions. Your definitive purpose requires a daily regimen of protection, reinforcement, and unwavering focus. Consider now 2 pillars of this discipline designed to fortify your mental resolve from the moment you awaken until you lay your head down to rest. The first is your morning ritual of intentionality. This is far more than simply reciting a prayer or uttering a few affirmations. This is your deliberate, authoritative act of declaring the state of your mind for the day ahead, a conscious command issued to every faculty of your being. Before the world has a chance to impose its chaotic demands upon you, you must proactively set your internal compass. You command focus, you declare resilience, you affirm unwavering faith in your definitive purpose, and you align your entire being with the divine intelligence that guides all progress. You are not reacting to circumstances. You are creating the mental and spiritual environment in which those circumstances will unfold. This is the practical application of autosuggestion, not as mere wishful thinking, but as a scientific method for impressing your subconscious mind with your dominant desires and intentions, ensuring that your energy is channeled towards your highest aims. Then, as the day draws to a close, before the subconscious mind takes over during sleep, you must engage in your evening thought audit. This is not an indulgence in self-criticism, nor a casual recap of events. This is a systematic, structured review, a thorough examination of your mental activity throughout the preceding hours. Ask yourself, with unflinching honesty, did my thoughts, my words, and my actions today align with my definitive purpose? Where did mental drift attempt to enter, pulling my attention away from my core objectives? What fears were amplified by the echo chamber of past experiences, and how did I respond to them? This audit serves as your mental hygiene, a crucial process for identifying and, most importantly, transmuting negative patterns, lingering doubts, and unproductive mental habits. It prevents the accumulation of mental debris that, left unchecked, can sabotage tomorrow's efforts. It is your opportunity for conscious course correction, ensuring that you continually refine your mental processes, sharpening your focus, and reinforcing your commitment to your chosen path. Understand that this disciplined approach, this continuous shaping and refining within your mental forge, is not a burden. It is your ultimate strategic advantage. It directly counteracts the adversary's most cunning tactics of distraction and doubt. By consistently engaging in these rituals, you are not merely resisting negativity. You are actively constructing a mental fortress, building a mind that is resilient, focused, and ultimately unassailable. This is how you move beyond intellectual understanding to actual integration, embedding your definitive purpose so deeply within your subconscious that it becomes an automatic guiding force. This is the daily, consistent work of outwitting the forces that seek to diminish you, transforming your mind into an instrument of unparalleled power and clarity. You have diligently begun to sculpt your mental landscape within the mental forge, transforming raw intention into refined purpose. You have learned to command your thoughts with intentionality, preparing the very ground of your being for extraordinary harvests. But even the most fertile ground, carefully tilled and meticulously prepared, requires a direct connection to the source of all life, to the ultimate wellspring of wisdom and guidance. Many individuals, even those committed to their definitive purpose, find themselves still grappling with a profound question. How do I truly connect with the divine? How do I move beyond mere supplication, beyond simply asking, to a true dialogue of understanding and reception? This brings us to a critical, often misunderstood aspect of spiritual mastery: the language of resonance, speaking to the divine. For centuries, prayer has been perceived predominantly as a one-way street, a litany of requests directed skyward, often with an underlying current of desperation or expectation. But I ask you to consider a more profound, a more potent truth. What if the divine is not a distant, austere entity to be pleaded with, but an ever-present, all-pervading intelligence waiting for you to tune your mental frequency to its perfect wavelength? What if the answers you seek, the guidance you crave, are not withheld, but simply unheard due to the static and interference within your own mental receiving station? This is the essence of resonance. It is not about making God speak. It is about preparing yourself to hear. Imagine a radio. It transmits constant signals, always broadcasting. If your receiver is not tuned to the precise frequency, if it is riddled with interference, if the volume is low, you will perceive only silence or distortion. The divine communication operates on a similar principle. You have, through the establishment of your definitive purpose and the discipline of your mental forge, begun the arduous but essential work of clearing the static. Now, we refine the tuning. This shift transforms prayer from a passive act of asking into an active, conscious engagement of alignment and resonance. It is about creating an internal environment where your spiritual being is harmonized with the infinite intelligence, allowing for a clear and unobstructed flow of wisdom. How, then, do you truly hear and feel God's answers? It is not always in a booming voice from the heavens, nor in a dramatic, undeniable sign. More often, it manifests as a subtle yet profound intuitive guidance, a deep sense of knowing, a surge of inspiration that provides clarity where confusion once reigned. To cultivate this sensitivity, you must first cultivate stillness. Within the silence of your cultivated mental forge, after you have declared your intentionality and reviewed your thoughts, dedicate time not to speaking, but to listening. This is where active faith truly manifests, not just in belief, but in the expectation of reception. It is here that you learn to differentiate between the clamor of your own fears, the echoes of past conditioning, and the clear, consistent signal of divine wisdom. Recognizing divine promptings as practical, actionable insights is paramount. The infinite intelligence does not typically offer abstract philosophical treatises in response to your heartfelt pleas. It provides the next step, the necessary direction, the subtle correction that guides you towards your definitive purpose. This might come as a sudden, compelling idea for a solution to a problem. It might be a persistent inclination to reach out to a specific individual. It might manifest as an unmistakable sense of peace about a challenging decision, even in the absence of complete logical data. These are not coincidences. They are communications. They are the answers to your unasked questions, the navigation to your next destination. This mastery of resonance requires practice, an unwavering commitment to fine-tuning your internal receiver. It requires a profound trust in the process and a willingness to act upon the guidance received, even when it challenges your established comfort zones. For prayer, in its highest form, is not merely talking to God. It is creating the inner space, the mental and spiritual clarity, to receive God's unwavering guidance, to absorb the wisdom, that empowers you to transcend limitations and fulfill your ultimate purpose. It is this attuned connection that transforms aspiration into actualization, turning your definitive purpose into a living, breathing reality, guided by an intelligence far greater than your own. You have now meticulously defined your definitive purpose, shaping your intentions within the disciplined crucible of the mental forge, and you have begun to tune your spiritual receiver to the language of divine resonance. These are formidable steps towards mastering your mind. Yet, even the most brilliant mind, the most resolute spirit, can become vulnerable when operating in isolation. No great achievement in the annals of human endeavor, no profound spiritual breakthrough has ever been accomplished in a vacuum. This brings us to a truth of immense power, a principle I have observed to be absolutely indispensable for sustained success in all realms of life: the strategic counsel principle. Consider the inherent limitations of a singular perspective, even one as enlightened as yours may become. Your vision, while clear, remains singular. Your wisdom, while profound, remains bound by your individual experiences. The adversary of progress thrives on isolation, on sowing seeds of doubt in the solitary mind. For a lone tree, however mighty, is always more susceptible to the storm than an entire forest. This is why I have long championed the mastermind principle, the coordination of knowledge and effort of two or more people who work toward a definite purpose in a spirit of harmony. It creates a third, invisible force, an intangible power that is greater than the sum of its individual parts. Now, we elevate this principle, extending its profound implications into the spiritual realm, recognizing that your spiritual growth, just like your material success, is profoundly amplified through a carefully chosen alliance. This strategic counsel is not merely a collection of acquaintances or a casual social group. It is a deliberately assembled cohort of influences, carefully selected to elevate your highest thoughts and aspirations, to fortify your spirit, and to illuminate paths that your individual perspective might otherwise overlook. Who, then, are these council members? They are not necessarily limited to the living. They are the individuals whose wisdom resonates with your definitive purpose, whose achievements inspire you, whose spiritual insights provide guidance. This council can include tangible mentors, those living individuals whose character and accomplishments you admire and emulate. But it must also extend to the departed, to the great minds and spiritual luminaries throughout history whose teachings and philosophies continue to shape human progress. And critically, it must include the direct, guiding presence of the divine intelligence you are learning to access through resonance. How do you consciously invite their wisdom, you ask? This is an act of deliberate engagement. For your living mentors, it means seeking their counsel, studying their methods, and absorbing their perspectives. For the great minds of the past, it means immersing yourself in their writings, contemplating their lives, and allowing their accumulated wisdom to inform your own thinking. Through scripture, through sacred texts, through intentional meditation, you invite their presence into your intellectual and spiritual sphere. You create an inner round table where their collective genius is available to you, not as abstract historical figures, but as active participants in your decision-making process. Imagine yourself sitting at a table surrounded by the wisest, most spiritually enlightened beings you can conceive. What questions would you pose? What insights would they offer? This is not mere fantasy. It is the deliberate cultivation of a higher consciousness, drawing upon the concentrated intellectual and spiritual energy of those who have already mastered aspects of the path you now walk. The power of this collective consciousness, this spiritual mastermind alliance, lies in its ability to fortify you against the subtle deceptions of the adversary. Where your individual resolve might falter, the combined wisdom of your counsel provides unwavering support. Where your individual perspective might be clouded by fear or doubt, the collective insights offer clarity and renewed purpose. This alliance acts as an impervious shield against the forces of mental drift, for it consistently pulls you back to your definitive purpose, reminding you of the greater good you serve. It dismantles the echo chamber by introducing diverse, powerful voices of truth and inspiration that challenge limiting beliefs. No great mind operates in isolation, and certainly, your spiritual growth, your journey toward fulfilling your definitive purpose, will flourish exponentially within such a carefully chosen, consciously engaged alliance. This is how you leverage the power of others, not to diminish your own strength, but to amplify it to an unprecedented degree. You have begun to assemble your strategic council, drawing upon the collective wisdom of minds both present and past. Understanding that true power often resides in collaboration rather than solitary effort. Yet, knowledge, however profound, and counsel, however sagacious, remain inert forces unless they are harnessed by the relentless engine of personal commitment. This brings us to a crucial element, a dynamic force that transforms aspiration into actualization, theory into practice, accountability as a spiritual lever. Too often, accountability is viewed through the lens of judgment, a burdensome obligation imposed from without, a threat of criticism for failing to meet expectations. This perception itself is a subtle trap, a deterrent to true growth. I propose a radically different understanding. Accountability is not a shackle, but a profound lever, a powerful mechanism designed to amplify your commitment, sharpen your clarity, and propel you inexorably towards your definitive purpose. It is the conscious act of holding yourself and allowing others to hold you to the highest standards of your own aspirations. How can you expect to win the battle for your mind if you allow your intentions to remain nebulous, unmeasured, and uncommitted? Consider the internal struggle against the Great Procrastination Proxy. It thrives in the absence of firm deadlines and declared intentions. When your commitment is known only to yourself, it is all too easy for the adversary to whisper doubts, to rationalize delay, to suggest a deviation from your chosen path. But when you articulate your definitive purpose, when you share your specific intentions and your action plans with trustworthy individuals, members of your mastermind alliance, you instantly create a powerful psychological and spiritual barrier against backsliding. This is not about seeking permission or validation. It is about creating a shared investment in your success, a mutual agreement that elevates your personal goals to a collaborative endeavor. How do you invite trustworthy individuals into this journey for mutual upliftment? It begins with selecting those whose character you admire, whose vision aligns with yours, and who possess the courage to offer honest, constructive feedback. Share your definitive purpose with them, not merely as an idea, but as a sworn oath to yourself and to your highest potential. Explain the specific actions you intend to take, the milestones you aim to achieve. By making this declaration, you imbue your intentions with a new weight, a new reality. The act of verbalizing your commitments to another human being, particularly one you respect, solidifies them within your own subconscious mind. It creates an internal pressure, not of fear, but of integrity, a desire to honor your word, both to them and, more importantly, to yourself. This external validation, this knowing that another human spirit is witnessing and supporting your journey, becomes a vital antidote to the isolation that the adversary so skillfully exploits. But accountability is not solely an external construct. Its true power lies in its internalization, in cultivating a rigorous self-accountability to your definitive purpose and the values you have meticulously forged in your mental forge. This is the discipline of honest self-assessment, conducted not with judgment, but with an unwavering commitment to truth. Each morning, as you engage in your ritual of intentionality, do you not declare your purpose? Each evening, during your thought audit, do you not review your adherence to it? This continuous feedback loop, this relentless pursuit of alignment between intention and action, is the very essence of self-mastery. It is the practice of holding yourself to the standard you have set, refusing to allow even the slightest deviation from your predetermined course. This spiritual lever of accountability sharpens your focus and reinforces your dedication. It forces you to confront discrepancies between your stated goals and your actual behavior. It reveals the subtle ways in which mental drift, or the echo chamber effect, might still be operating, subtly steering you off course. Each act of holding yourself accountable, each honest admission of a misstep followed by a conscious correction, strengthens your will, builds your character, and fortifies your inner resolve. It is a dynamic process, not a static state, requiring constant vigilance and uncompromising integrity. For the adversary thrives on laxity, on unmonitored intentions, on the comfortable fiction that good intentions alone suffice. But intentions, no matter how pure, are merely aspirations until they are galvanized by action and rigorously held to account. By embracing accountability, both externally through your strategic counsel and internally through unwavering self-honesty, you transform it into an engine of accelerated progress. It is the mechanism by which your commitment to your definitive purpose becomes non-negotiable, providing the necessary pressure to overcome inertia and transcend the subtle deceptions of the mind. This is how you seize full command of your journey, ensuring that every step taken is a conscious, deliberate stride towards the realization of your highest potential and the profound connection you seek. You have now established your definitive purpose, disciplined your mind in the mental forge, tuned your spirit to divine resonance, and leveraged the power of accountability through your strategic counsel. These are the mighty tools and foundational principles for your ascension. Yet, it would be a grave error to believe that the battle is won simply because you possess these formidable advantages. The adversary, in its myriad forms of mental drift, echo chambers, and the Great Procrastination Proxy, does not vanish with a single triumph. Its insidious nature is to persist, to probe for weaknesses, to seek any opportunity to reclaim lost ground. This understanding compels us to the cultivation of the habit of victory. True mastery, my friend, is never achieved in a single decisive stroke. It is the cumulative effect of continuous intentional practice, a relentless commitment to a lifestyle of mental and spiritual discipline. To outwit the adversary is not a one-time event, a final triumphant gesture after which you can rest on your laurels. No, it is a dynamic, ongoing process, much like tending a vibrant garden. You do not plant seeds once and then abandon them, expecting a perpetual harvest. You nurture, you prune, you protect, and you remain ever vigilant against the encroaching weeds. Your mind, your spirit, your definitive purpose, these demand the same unwavering, continuous attention. Consider the very nature of success. It is not a destination at which one eventually arrives and then simply exists. Success, in its truest, most profound sense, is a journey, a perpetual state of becoming, a continuous forward movement in alignment with your highest self. Therefore, victory itself must be understood not as an endpoint, but as a habit, a chosen way of living. Every conscious thought you direct towards your purpose, every deliberate action you take to fortify your mind, every moment you spend in resonant communication with the divine, is a stroke of genius in your personal masterpiece. It is the compounding interest of consistent, small actions that, over time, yields a wealth of unshakable resilience and profound accomplishment. This habit of victory also encompasses the crucial understanding of setbacks. There will be moments, inevitably, when doubt attempts to creep back in, when old patterns resurface, when the path ahead seems obscured. These are not failures. These are simply opportunities for refinement, for deeper commitment, for demonstrating the very resilience you are cultivating. The truly victorious individual does not succumb to discouragement in the face of temporary defeat. Instead, they examine the misstep, learn its lessons, adjust their approach, and recommit with even greater intensity. This is the hallmark of persistent faith in action. How could you expect to master the intricate workings of your mind without ever encountering a challenge to its sovereignty? It is in the overcoming of these challenges that your strength is truly forged, your resolve is truly tested, and your habit of victory is ultimately cemented. Remember the power of the definite purpose you articulated and the self-discipline you cultivated in the mental forge. These are not abstract concepts. They are daily practices. Your morning ritual of intentionality, your evening thought audit, your engagement with your strategic counsel, your tuning to the language of resonance. These are the tangible manifestations of your commitment. Each time you engage in these practices, you are not merely performing a task, you are reinforcing the habit of victory. You are making a conscious choice to exert dominion over your thoughts, to align your actions with your purpose, and to move forward, however incrementally, towards the realization of your highest aspirations. The adversary's greatest hope is that you will grow weary, that you will assume the fight is over, that you will let your guard down. But the unyielding spirit, the one truly committed to outwitting these forces, understands that vigilance is not a burden, but a privilege. It is the privilege of living a life of conscious creation, of intentional growth, of unbroken connection to your divine source. This is the lifestyle of the victor, a continuous cultivation of inner strength, where every conscious decision, every moment of sustained effort, builds an ever more potent and unshakable foundation for your definitive purpose. You have now embraced the habit of victory, transforming the relentless vigilance of the mind into an automatic, almost effortless state of being, where every conscious decision, every moment of sustained effort, builds an ever more potent and unshakable foundation for your definitive purpose. But what, then, is the ultimate reward for this sustained discipline, this unwavering commitment to your definitive purpose? What is the undeniable consequence of consistently outwitting the subtle deceptions of the adversary, of refusing to succumb to mental drift, echo chambers, or the procrastination proxy? It is the profound, undeniable emergence of what I call the unshakable manifestation. This is not merely about achieving individual goals, though those will undoubtedly become byproducts of this state. This is about transcending the cycle of effort and struggle, moving into a realm where your definitive purpose begins to manifest with an almost preordained certainty. When you have cultivated the habit of victory, when your mind is perpetually aligned with your highest intentions, when your spiritual antenna is consistently tuned to the language of divine resonance, and when your actions are driven by an internal compass anchored to your purpose, you shift from pursuing your destiny to living it. The unshakable manifestation is the point at which your inner reality, your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions become so coherent, so powerful, that the outer reality begins to bend and conform to its pattern. Think of it this way. Your mind, previously a battlefield for conflicting thoughts and external pressures, has now become a precision instrument, a powerful creative engine. The chaos has been replaced by an elegant order, the internal static by a clear, consistent signal. This clarity creates an irresistible pull, a magnetic force that draws to you the resources, the opportunities, the individuals, and the circumstances necessary for the complete realization of your definitive purpose. The adversary, which once sought to confuse and delay, finds its strategies rendered increasingly ineffective. Its whispers of doubt drowned out by the authoritative roar of your own unshakable certainty. You are no longer reacting to life. You are orchestrating it, consciously, deliberately, and with an unwavering conviction that borders on prophecy. The evidence of this unshakable manifestation is not always dramatic or overtly supernatural. More often, it reveals itself in the quiet confidence that permeates your being, the serene focus you bring to every task, the remarkable synchronicity of events that seem to effortlessly guide your path. Challenges that once appeared insurmountable now present themselves as opportunities for further growth, met with wisdom rather than fear. The nagging doubts that once echoed within your mind are replaced by an internal affirmation, a deep knowing that you are precisely where you are meant to be, doing precisely what you are meant to do. Your definitive purpose ceases to be a future aspiration and becomes a vibrant living reality, expressed through your every thought, word, and deed. This state is not one of arrogant presumption, but of humble certainty, born from the consistent application of universal principles. It is the natural consequence of having chosen to align your finite human will with the infinite intelligence to serve a purpose greater than yourself, and to maintain that alignment with uncompromising discipline. The unshakable manifestation is the ultimate proof that the battle for your mind, when fought with conscious strategy and unwavering commitment, leads not just to victory over an adversary, but to the co-creation of a destiny that is not only unshakable, but truly extraordinary. You become not just a recipient of blessings, but a conduit for them, a powerful force for good, a living testament to the transformative power of a mind in command of its own spiritual and material unfolding. This is the zenith of mental mastery, the point where your conscious intent blossoms into undeniable reality, proving that the greatest power you possess is the power you choose to wield over your own inner world. You have traversed the labyrinth of mental conflict, emerged from the mists of mental drift, dismantled the echoing chambers of doubt, and shattered the chains of procrastination. You have meticulously forged your definitive purpose, disciplined your mind, tuned into divine resonance, embraced accountability, and cultivated the habit of victory, leading you to the profound reality of the unshakable manifestation. This incredible journey, however, culminates not in a final destination where all effort ceases, but in a new elevated plateau from which you are called to exert the ongoing command, a legacy of mastery. Understand that the cessation of overt struggle does not signify the end of vigilance. It signifies a transition from reactive defense to proactive creation. You have not merely won a battle, you have gained sovereignty over the vast, intricate kingdom of your own mind. This sovereignty carries with it a profound responsibility, the responsibility to not only maintain this state of mastery, but to continuously refine it, to deepen your understanding, and to expand the sphere of your influence. The adversary, in its myriad forms, may shift its tactics, seeking new avenues of subtle distraction or complacency. Therefore, your command must be ongoing, a living, breathing testament to the power of consistent, conscious choice. This ongoing command is characterized by an unwavering commitment to the principles you have internalized. Your morning ritual of intentionality transforms from a necessary discipline into a joyful communion, a deliberate act of co-creation with the divine. Your evening thought audit becomes a seamless process of self-correction and gratitude, an affirmation of growth rather than a dissection of flaws. The engagement with your strategic counsel evolves into a dynamic exchange, where you not only receive wisdom, but also contribute your own insights and experiences, enriching the collective. Your attunement to divine resonance deepens, becoming an intuitive, almost telepathic connection, where guidance flows effortlessly and inspiration becomes a constant companion. The legacy of mastery you are now building is not confined to your personal achievements. It radiates outward, impacting every facet of your existence and every individual you encounter. Your mere presence becomes a source of quiet strength and inspiration for others. Your clarity of thought and unwavering purpose serve as a beacon, guiding those still lost in the fog of their own mental battles. You become a living embodiment of what is possible when a human being chooses to wield their mental and spiritual powers with deliberate intention. This is the true measure of your triumph. Not just what you accomplish for yourself, but the ripple effect of transformation you initiate in the world around you, subtly yet powerfully. changing the very fabric of reality through your example. Remember always that this path of mastery is a dynamic continuum. The universe is in constant motion, ever expanding, and so too must your personal evolution be. Rest not on past victories, but use them as launching pads for ever greater achievements, for deeper spiritual insights, for a more profound connection to the infinite intelligence that orchestrates all existence. The command you now wield over your mind is a sacred trust, a gift to be cultivated and expanded. It is the continuous process of outwitting the subtle forces that seek to diminish you, not through brute force, but through superior strategy, unwavering faith, and the relentless application of truth. This is your life's greatest work, your most profound contribution, and your enduring legacy. A living, breathing example of the unshakable power that resides within a mind truly in command of itself, forever shaping its destiny and illuminating the path for others to follow.